Anwar Ibrahim, welcome to you. Why do you think the government may be misleading people?
I've said that I'm privy to the fact that there is an installation called Marconi radar system near the South China Sea, operated by the Air Force. The government, till today, particularly the Ministry of Defence, have not explained why they have concealed this very vital, critical piece of information when the flight reverted into Malaysia, into the mainland, crossing 5 provinces.
Yeah. Just to be clear, this is back in, what was it, 1994, when you were Finance Minister. You signed off on a major piece of investment with Marconi, who was supplying the radar equipment for the Air Force in Malaysia, and as you've described it, as one of the most sophisticated radar systems pretty much in that part of the world, and you're curious as to why the Air Force in particular have been tight-lipped.
Yes, this was procured by the Ministry of Defence when Prime Minister Najib was Defence Minister, and as Finance Minister, then we had to, then study and understand the whole issues and pay for the installation. Very expensive, very elaborate, very sophisticated, and there's no reason as to why they are not able to detect the flight movement. The second issue, colleague, is an issue of national security. If you can allow this to happen, then it is a betrayal of the people's trust. You cannot depend on an incompetent ministry to decide and determine our own security. Now, they have to explain. If they can't, then they will have to tell us why this vital piece of information is being concealed to the general public and international community. Of course, I'm very appreciative and thankful even to the Royal Navy for the efforts taken now. But the critical issues, piece of information is not explained, the system is so opaque. And anyone questioning, like me, doing so in Parliament and outside Parliament, are condemned to be politicizing or anti-national or not appreciative of the Malaysian government effort. This is utter nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, the government has, as you make clear, the government has questioned your motives, suggesting they are politically inspired, politically motivated. They go on to say the government has a duty to the families not to release uncorroborated information that leads to false hope or wild goose chases which hamper the investigation. I mean, they do seem to have a point there. There was lots of, at times, contradictory and conflicting information, and they had to take their time.
I appreciate that. I'm with the government in the sense that you should not release corroborative information. What I'm asking is, where is this critical piece of information? Why do they conceal from the general public? Why were the Chinese and the Vietnamese not informed in the first week when they were asked to spend millions of dollars in the rescue operations, search and rescue operations in the South China Sea, knowing fairly well on the 8th at 1 a.m. the plane actually reverted back across 5 provinces in the north of Malaya.
It's changed direction. It's flown over, as you say, 5 provinces. You make clear that under standard operating procedure, the jets, the Malaysian military jets, ought to have been scrambled within 3 minutes to see what was going on. As you say, they were relying upon a very sophisticated radar system. The question then is, why? Why were those jets not scrambled? Why was the information from those sophisticated radar screens not distributed more widely? Was it incompetence or something worse than that?
Initially, I thought it was, excusable. The first day, people were just confused. This is a complex operation, unprecedented, and I don't want to undermine the importance of these operations, so we were just a bit silent. But after a few days, knowing the capacity of the radar, we start asking questions. Why was this not released? Now, incompetence is one, but here is the issue of threat to national security. Earlier on, we heard about jets missing some years back, but then now we have a plane disappearing. And the system is opaque in the sense that they are used to a very compliant media, compliant judiciary, which will not question, which will act only at the behest of the ruling establishment. But here, I owe it as a Malaysian. I want to know. I still fly in the Malaysian Airlines. I support the Malaysian operations. But then it is our duty to find out, to redeem the lost prestige that we have. People are now questioning. They, in Parliament, they just accuse me of saying, piecing the Western media. Colin is no longer Western media. We're not talking about Sky or New York Times. We're talking about Xinhua, Hindustan Times, Jakarta Post. The entire international media want to know what happened. Of course, the Malaysian authorities is not in the position to give all the answers. But then where the information is available, why not collaborate with international forces and release? For now, for a fact now, there's a conflict between the Inspector General Police and the Interpol. We want to know exactly what happened in terms of the flow or the use of the stolen passports. We have a very sophisticated system in Malaysia. Why was these passports allowed to be used? You know, the system is not transparent and nobody can be held accountable. And this is, I think, a major problem of issue of governance in the country.
At times, that international media attention that you referred to has focused on the crew, and in particular at times, the captain, Captain Zahari, a man known to you with whom you've had several conversations. What can you tell us about him?
The police should be given all the support and encouragement to conduct independent investigations. The pilot, the crew, the passengers. What I am objecting is casting aspersions on an innocent man, which is a part of a system. You know, Colin, I've been convicted many times, and this is an issue that is very dear and passionate to me. I mean, you can conduct investigations. Is it a crime for someone to know me? Is it a crime for someone who believes in an independent judiciary and not a corrupt, opaque system? Now, Zahari is known to me, related to my daughter-in-law. I've met him on a number of occasions and seemed to be very passionate about the democratic process, independent electoral process against the fraudulent elections in 2013, wanting an independent judiciary that does not act at the behest of the political masters. This is not a crime. Now, I have a good family and a very decent man that I know of. So investigate by all means, but do not condemn an innocent man and form into unreasonable conclusion. Just because somebody is for democracy and justice does not mean he would hijack a plane. We have thousands of taxi drivers, cab drivers in Kuala Lumpur supportive of us. They don't hijack taxis.
Yeah. When you meet members of the Malaysian diaspora living here in London, as I'm sure you will, doubtless at times, perhaps first and foremost, conversation will turn to what has happened to this missing plane. At times it's pointless to try and clutch at straws and offer an easy explanation, but it remains a question on the lips of so many millions of people around the world. What happened to this plane? When you're asked that question, what is your reply?
Well, from Vice President Al Gore to Sir Richard Needham to ordinary Malaysians here in London, the answers, of course, is baffling. We don't have answers, and I appreciate the predicament of the government in dealing with it, but they have to be consistent and coherent in their message. They cannot be flip-flop on every other day. The number of passports, the radar, whether it has ended in the Indian Ocean or not. So the only question that they raise, you know, there's a difference, Malaysians in London and Malaysians in the remote areas in Malaysia, because they only are glued to the national television. There's full of praise and accolades to the Prime Minister. No criticism whatsoever. Here, they watch your news, and the first question would be, Anwar, why are they not telling us the truth and what actually happened? So this is the standard question raised by not only Malaysians, but anyone I met here in London and overseas.
Anwar Ibrahim, we very much appreciate your time this lunchtime. Thank you very much indeed, Anwar Ibrahim, there, the former Deputy Prime Minister of Malaysia, now the opposition leader.